So who already know about or have any experience about reactive programming? Come on, raise your hand. I know some of you know. Okay. Who believe or have confidence that you know a little bit or experience about reactive programming? Okay, so who have heard about reactive programming or Java? Okay, awesome. Do your company use that thing? Yeah, your company use Java or not?
I don't work with the mobile team, so I don't know.
So what is your title? Java.
Java software engineer, but I work with the Java application.
Yes.
So don't know much about it.
Yeah. So if you learn Java, you can still use Java. Okay. If you we learn Android, so we go with Android. Okay. So we're gonna learn about reactive programming today. So it's a little bit advanced. Get started. Okay. So actually, what is reactive programming? Okay. Who know what is reactive programming something? Okay. So reactive programming is some ways that you interact with asynchronous data stream. Okay, so you have to know and remember that data stream is everything you need to know about reactive programming. It's a stream. So a stream is just a sequence of events. Also, I gotta explain it more detail. So reactive programming treat everything as a stream. Okay, so you click on a button, it fire an event, and you should not treat an event like a listener, like we do before, but we should treat that like an event. So it's something like an object. So you just click on the screen, it's an event. You use a swipe from left to right is an event, and everything is an event. It's some type of object, okay, and it's a sequence of values, some type of values. Okay, so basically, programming like we do through 6 weeks is some kind of basic programming, like you the code read from the top to the bottom, something like that. Okay, so who understand the difference between push and pull programming? Push and pull. Then you know Java, right? You know XML in Java, not in Android. You know XML in Java. Do you know that there are parser in XML? Different kind of parser. Okay. Yes. So a pull and push different is a pull is mean you have to do everything by yourself. You have to know I have to get this value, I have to store a value, I have to get that button, I have to get the color of the button, I have to get the text out of the button, something like that. Yeah, pull. And a push is mean you are lazy. Okay, someone gonna bring the value for you, and you will decide if I want it or not. Okay, the pull programming way is you try to find something by yourself, and the push is they bring to us, and you decide you want to take it or not. Okay, so reactive programming is some type of push. Okay, so values are emitted when it's ready. Emitted, it means fire event, emitted event, something like that. Okay, and it allows action to be performed in parallel. Who know the difference between parallel and concurrence? Parallel and concurrence. Who knows? Okay, so JavaScript. JavaScript is some type of concurrent, I believe, and Ruby. So it means you have three threads running at a time. You have 3 jobs running at a time in concurrence. They will divide some time for the first one, some other time for the second one. So it's not really parallel. Okay, so maybe they spend 300 milliseconds for the first job, and the next 300 milliseconds for the second job, something like that. And you can feel that it's parallel, but it's not. Okay, you can feel that. Okay, so parallel is truly parallel. Okay, and we have component in our Java. So I gotta explain, but introduce guys some stuff we're learning. So I have put in here. I marble something over here. So okay, so you have to think that it's not object-oriented programming. It's something different. Okay, something based on the events, not based on the object. Okay, so here, so example, I have a sequence of events. Okay, so it may be user click. When user click on the button, I emit an event, something like that. An event, an event, an event. And here, this arrow is times. Times. Okay, so the number 2 events is emit after number 1. So the arrow here is describe the times. Okay, the real time. So here, so using reactive programming, you have operator. So you use operator to transform your events to something else, and then you wait for it. It will push the event to you. You transform it and you use that. Okay. So for example, they have different operator. So it's events. Okay. So for example, I have operator map over here. So it means an event come out. I can transform it to another type data. For example, I want to multiple x by 10. So an event come out like 1. I want to multiply it by 10 here. Something like that. Okay. So for another example of events, so you have a search bar, right? You try to tie on it. So each keyboard you tie is an event, and the value is the whole keyword. Okay. For example, I type hello, and so the event will be hello, and then I type hello w, right? And the event value is hello w. And when I type hello world, so the event emit the hello world. Okay. For example, here the value is 1, 2, 3. Okay. Then I have operators. So to map it, transform 1 to 10, 2 to 20, and 3 to 30 using this formula. Sometimes like that. Okay. For example, an event come out. You want to transform it into a just sequence. So the get text is just sequence, right? And you want to transform it one more time to string, right? To truly become a string, something like that. So here they define everything you need to know about operator of RxJava. Of Rx reactive programming, not RxJava. So it's a concept. So we have RxScript, we have RxJava, we have Rx Ruby, we have blah blah blah. Okay, so here we have a lot of stuff here. So later I'm gonna do an example to see the power of Rx programming. So here, for example, I have filter. Okay, so you can try to interact with that. Okay, so here filter, it means I want to filter the events. I just want the event with x over 10. Okay, something like that. Okay, so here 30 I gotta get it, but number 2 here I don't get number 2 because it's lower than 10. Okay, so this is some type events. Other one here is, for example, you have a search bar, right? And you just tie in. Okay, so when you just tie in, you want to get a search request from the backend, something like that. And because the user types too fast, and you will see something lagging. So for example, I type 1, 2, 3, something like that. So and maybe you cut the event, change text change listener, something like that, and you get the text out, right? And you call the backend. So backend will return the data back, but it gets some delay. And when you set time too fast, you will see your result, lagging, something like that. Do you get that? You get that? So when the user type or search bar too fast, okay? And each time a new string is emitted, you get that string, you call the API, but the API will return slower, right? Something like that. And so using they have operator to deal with that. So for example, I have debounce over here. Debounce. Okay, so something like that. So you imagine that here, over here, this guy is the type events. Okay, so you just tie on the search bar and they gonna emit the first event, second event, third event, and sixth event. Okay, and you want something like debounce. It means you want that if 2 events, the duration between 2 events is less than 300 milliseconds, and I'm not gonna take that event. Okay, so when you use the time too fast, I don't want those events. I just want the last event when user release the finger. Can you get that? So here I only get number 6 because you know, the duration between event number 1 and event number 2 is less than, for example, 300 milliseconds. I love that number. So here I'm not gonna get number 1, and then the difference between number 2 and number 3 is less than 300 seconds, and I don't get the number 2 events. Okay, but I release that. See, it means this event different more than 300 milliseconds, for example. So I get event 5 and event 6. So everything is an event or data stream, and then you use operator to emit that. And when I get 5 and 6, I actually call the API. Okay, I don't want to call API for number 1, 2, 3, 4. It will make your application lagging, something like that. Okay, so the backend will, you know, handle number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, and they will return one by one, and you see your user interface not good. Okay, something like that. Okay, you get that? Yes.
If you make lot of events in the application,
Yeah.
does the app going to lag, or is there any something problem if you make number of events?
Yeah. So events, we have schedulers. It means we can, you know, ask event to run on another thread. Okay. So later I gotta teach that. Okay. So here you can come here and learn everything you want to know. So for example, you want, you know, call two API at the same time. How can you do that? If you have callbacks, you call the first API, right? And you wait for it to return, and you call another API. It's not good enough because it's, you know, delayed sometimes, right? So maybe you have a lot of, you know, for example, you know, the merge here. Maybe you want to merge that, okay? Or maybe you want to compile this that. It means I have the first event, stream of events, and another stream of events, and I want to combine it together. Okay, so 1 and A is 1A. Okay, so I want to call the first API and the second API, and then I combine together to have the 1A event. Okay, I want to call Google API and, you know, Facebook API, and I want to, you know, compare with them to get the best result. So 1A, something like that. Okay, so true B, and, you know, blah blah blah. Okay, I got a lot about that later. Okay, and here I gotta, you know, explain some component of iJava. We have observable. An observable is represent a stream. Okay, a stream. Observable is a stream of data. Okay, and you will define observer. Okay, observable and observer. When you have an observer, you can subscribe to the observable to get the events. Okay, so observable is a sequence of events. Observer is some guys, you know, can check that event and handle it. Okay, so you create an observable, you create an observer, and you subscribe the observer to the observable. Okay, and then on the observable you can get the event out and you can handle that. You get some data, you update your UI, something like that. Okay, and observer will react to whatever item emitted by observable. So you have one observable, and you have many observer. Okay, so when the observer, you know, subscribe to an event, whenever an event emitted, all the observer will be notified. Okay, so it's reactive. Okay, so the observer will bring data to us. We are an observer. We will decide want to check the data, want to handle the data, want to use the data, or throw it away, or throw an error, something like that. Okay, so many observers can subscribe to the same observable. Okay, so that's it. That's three basic, you know, component of iJava. And you know, when you learn iJava or reactive programming, maybe there's a little bit, you know, difficulty at the first because you have to, you know, restructure your mind. Should not think about object-oriented programming, something like that. Okay, so observable and observer, right? So it's allow concurrent operation or parallel operation, something like that. Okay, so the observer does not need to block while waiting for observable to emit the values. So maybe you want the observable, you know, to proceed on another thread. Okay, and you want the observer to receive that on the main thread of Android, right? Because on the main thread you can update the UI. Only on the UI thread on the main thread of Android you can update the UI. So they allow us to make observable run on another thread, and the observer will receive the events on main thread, for example, and you handle the UI. Okay. So based on push and rather than pull. Okay. It based on push rather than pull. You give us the data and we handle that. Okay. So it's much easier than For example, you handle the data. Okay. You update the data, right? And then you get the data and you do set test. You handle you have a string variable. Okay, you handle that, and every time you finish handle that string, you have to call set that to the text view, right? So maybe I make a text view like an observer, and it's subscribed to an observable, and every time I want to change the data, I just update the data from the observable, and that's all. Okay, so I don't have to explicitly call text view dot set that, something like that. So basically, you can think of reactive programming like this. So 1 plus 1 is true, right? So in object-oriented programming, we have A equal to 1, B equal to 1, and C equal to A plus B. So C is true, right? So if I update A to true, I have to update C. It's not for free. Okay? So I update A to true, and then I have to say, yeah, I have to update C. C equal to A plus B again, and it's 3. Okay? So it's annoying. It's annoying, and in your activity and fragment, you have to do that again and again. You have to set that, you have to set adapter, you have to set color, something like that. Okay? So reactive programming is A is update to number true, and C will automatically be 3. So it's reactive. Okay, so A plus B is C. You update A and C will be updated for free. Okay. So here a comparison between iterable and observable. Who know iterable, guys? Who know iterable? Oh my God, you learn Java.
It continuously repeats.
Okay.
For loop.
Yeah. Can you list some data structure that implement iterable of Java?
Access, map, list.
Yes. So we have array list, for example, list, something like that, hash map, something is iterable. Iterable, if you implement iterable, you will have for each in Java. You know that? Instead of for in equal 1, blah, 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 you can do for each, right? You know that? Guys, you for each in Java. Implement iterable, you will have, for each in Java. Okay, I got that. Sorry. So it's something like this. No. Here. It's something like this. So if some data structure, implement iterable, and we have something like this for something in that data structure. Okay? Instead of writing like this, you can write it like this. It is implement iterable. Okay, so we back on our lecture. Left iterable is pull programming. Okay, on the right observable is push programming. Okay, so for iterable, you want to move to the next item, you have to do it yourself, and you call next. Okay, you want to have the current value, get data. Okay, so it's a pull. You have to do it yourself. Okay, in your data structure, for example, array list or list, they implement it for you. For example, you want to customize something, you have to do it yourself. You have to call next to get the next stuff, and you will have to check different and has next. It means it has net or not. Okay, when you say that has net return false, and it means it's done. Okay, it's pull programming. You have to do it yourself. Okay, how about observable? Okay, so observable here, you have on nest, but you see that nest over here is return a data, right? T type data, but here on nest T is mean it's a listener, right? It's a listener, so you just implement that and you wait for it. Okay, when it comes, you receive that. And on complete will be called when there is no more data left, and you will receive that as a listener too. And you say that it's complete, no more data. Maybe you want to hide the progress bar, something like that. Okay, and on arrow. So here you have the try catch. what is the, track it over time and time. It's weird, right? So in observable you have a listener on error. So when an exception is true, you will receive that on error. If you implement that, your app will never crash somehow, but it's hard for debugging. Okay, it's harder for debugging. Okay, so more. Okay, for I wanted to say something here. A flexible observable, can emit a value, a sequence, update something, and it's okay. It's not something important, but here, free from callback hell. Okay, who know? I know someone in this room know Node.js. Okay, so Node.js had exception or not? No. So how can we handle an error in Node.js? You callback, right? So you return an error on the callback, right? So what is callback hell? Oh, they have a website for callback hell. Awesome. But click on that. Okay. They have not much example here. I gotta find image. Okay. So here is some type of callback hell. It's been you wait for another callback, get back, and you call another callback. I think that ES5 or ES6 or Node.js had exception. I do believe, but before ES5 or they have suffer from callback hell. It means when you call a function in Node.js, I could not throw an exception before, but now maybe yes. So they return an error on the callback with the data. So you have to check, is there an error or not? So you use Firebase, right? Okay, they return data and error. So if you want to call another, callback that, so something like this is callback hell of, iterable. So using observable, you're not gonna be in this situation. Everything gonna be flattened. Yeah, I gotta, explain it later, because a sequence transform to another sequence event to transform to another event. You don't have to, suffer from these guys. Okay, later I'm gonna introduce that. Okay, next. Okay, iterable. Okay, it call a method. You call a method by yourself. You define an observable and you wait for it. Okay, and here you call a method and a result will come back at a callback. Okay, you start a result somewhere. Maybe you want to do it later, and you use the result. And anytime here, when you update the result, you have to update the UI. Okay, yeah. So you update the result, you have to update the UI. So in here, you don't have to store anything. Okay, so you just wait for it. The event come back and you update the UI. So what is the consequence of storing too much value, too much data? I'm not gonna count memory issue here, just programming. So what is the problem is you hold a lot of state in your application.
ANR exceptions.
Sorry?
ANR exception.
What is your mean exception? True exception?
Yeah.
I mean that, for example, I have a list of string, and then I have a list of user, I have a list of data, I have a lot of stuff. So what is the problem when you storing too much stuff? So in OB, the storing is good. It's basically, okay, in OB you have to store something. But when you store a variable or a list or an object, you accidentally create a side effect. Okay, a side effect here is mean that when you store a value or a data structure and you use that, maybe a lot of all the components will use that data structure. Okay, and if you update the data structure, you have to update UI. But if if you forget to update the UI, you have bugs, right? You have to store a lot of stuff and you have to manage them. For example, I have a flag, is found equal to true. Maybe you want to update the flag into true false. We want to use that. But lately maybe you forget to update that, and all the guys use the value and you have bugs. Okay, so you have a lot of variable, a lot of data. You have to manage the state of that. You have to manage all the state. Okay, so using observable, you don't have to manage state. They manage it for you. They boost the data for you. You just handle that. Okay, so that's different. So reactive programming is a higher level of functional programming. So in functional programming, there is no object. There is no class. Okay, it's clear, right? It's different from object programming. Object programming is everything in object. You start object, you start state. Functional programming, there is no state. They even don't have class. You cannot define class. You cannot instantiate an object based on the class. It's clear, right? But they want that because they say that when you assign a value to a variable, you create a side effect. For example, when another thread come and use that value, right? Another thread come and use that value, you may have bugs. So functional programming is good for concurrency. So Facebook use functional programming for their messenger app on the server, not on the client side. On the server, something like that. Okay. So you create a state, you have to manage that, and you have a side effect. If you have one thread, it's okay. But many threads come, you have to handle that. Okay. So that's a problem of object-oriented programming, and it's terrible. Something like that. Okay. So observer, they have three methods here, basically: honest, on error, and on complete. Okay. So you call honest if you want to have you receive the next value, right? On error is mean you have error. Observable, you have to handle that. And on complete, it means observable is have no more value. With no more values, then you can get that event too. So schedulers, very important here. So reactive programming want to maximize the ability to do concurrent and parallel programming. Okay. So here schedulers here, they have a lot of scheduler. It means the way they provide a new thread for you. Okay. Maybe they create a new thread. Maybe they use a thread on a bool. Who know a bool in Java? If you are a Java backend, you have to know a thread bool. It means a pool here, pool is bể bơi. Okay. So pool have a lot of thread. Okay. And when you want a thread, a bool will provide a thread for you. When you use that, and I got put it back to the bool. Okay. Why? Why they don't let the garbage collection handle that thread? Because it's slow, right? They have to the garbage collection have to come and find all the objects that still have references, and then all the objects will be eliminated. That process is very slow. Okay, so the bool here, they give you a thread, you use that. After you use that, they get it back to the bool. Okay, so they try to reuse that. They don't let the garbage collection come into action, make the application slow. Okay, something like that. Okay, so a bool here, scheduler.io here, it means I want to try to use a thread from a bool. And if you try to use more thread than a bool can handle, two ways, the bool can roll the side, or you have to wait. Okay. Okay. So here the schedulers.io here, it says schedulers is just a mechanism, a way to provide thread. Maybe it's based on your car. For example, my phone here have 4 cores, for example. So maybe using schedulers.computation, you have 4 threads running on 4 cores, for example. So it's maximize the way and the ability to run concurrency programming, something like that. And observe and subscribe on. You can observe on anything. You can observe on scheduler.io. You can observe on scheduler.computation. You can observe on a new thread, or you can observe on Android main thread. See? So observe is mean when the callback come, the honest callback come, it will be run on main thread, and you can update the UI there. Okay, so if you don't have observe on Android scheduler.main thread, maybe you try to update the UI on another thread, and you have crash. But you don't have crash because you have on error, and they will bring the error back for you. Okay, so observe on the thread, observable is executed on. Okay, and the thread subscribe is executed on. So when you subscribe to it, it will run something to emit events. Okay, and the process will be run on another thread. and the result you will get on observe on. So basically, subscribe on is mean when the observable run, okay, it run on the thread provided on subscribe on, and observe on is mean when the result come back to you, you want to handle it on the main thread, okay. So here this guy subscribe on is the thread that you want to handle the process, the data, the way that you emit the events, and observe on is mean the thread that you want to use to update the UI, your result. Okay, basically like that. Okay, so here we have a lot of stuff here. So a new thread, it means you create a new thread. Very simple. And immediate, it means it will try to run on a current thread. So it's good in testing. For example, in testing, I don't a unit test, right? I don't have UIs, so I don't have main thread, right? So I have to use immediate instead of main thread, for example. And form executor, right? Form executor is a thread pool, something like that. Okay, executor is some type of a thread pool, but they're mixing something here. They're mixing the IO. Okay, so again, I have an API client here. Okay, I try to log in, right? And the login will emit an event. What is that event? That an object response have been parsed to object Java object for you. Okay, so API client in a class something is provide method login. A login is an observable, and it emit the successful or not successful login events. You get that event and you want to handle it on main thread over here, and you want the login observable to be run on another thread, right? API call, network call, you have to do it on another thread. Any question? Are you sure? Is it hard to understand? At first, it's very hard to understand for me. So later I'm gonna do an example, okay? So I'm gonna do it. So later I'm gonna come back to this guy, okay? So and an application over here is nothing much. I have, an edit text, okay? A list view, okay, and a progress bar. I don't use recycler view here because I want something simpler, okay? A list view have, array adapter. I can use immediately. I don't want to create another adapter, okay? So it's wasting my time. Okay, in here, I'm using, Java 8 because I want to show you guys that the syntax of, reactive programming is very beautiful. And here, I'm gonna add RxJava as Android. So Rx Android equal to RxJava dot the Android scheduler. That's all. Okay. So in Java they don't have main thread like Android thread, right? So Rx Android is just equal to RxJava dot and plus the Android scheduler. So Android scheduler is just a main thread. Okay, something like that. And I want to come to the GitHub. Okay. So they say that, yeah, copy these guys. Okay, so I got copy this guy and I got put in here. Okay, simple enough. Okay, I gotta sync that. So here they provide RxJava and Rx Android. Okay. Okay, I gotta take some time. Maybe the network is slow. Okay, so here is general. I gotta do some basic stuff of observable. Okay, so for example, observable again is a sequence of events. Okay, so here observable here. Okay, maybe it's an observable. I want an observable. Okay, make sure you choose the one from Iris. Okay, I gotta choose this guy, and I have form. So what is here? I have a symbol stuff here is I put in an array. So again, an array is some type of iterable. If you want data from position number 5, you have to use your array and get number 5, right? Number 1, something like that. So I want something like observable. It means they will push the data for me, and I will decide that I want to get it or not. For example, I want here, I want 2, 3, 4, 5. 6, 7. Okay, something like that. Okay. I have to put in here an array, right? So maybe can I do something like, array, right? Values equal you in something like this, and okay, maybe I gonna do this. Okay, integer. Okay, you have to put here an object. Okay, you cannot put here a parameter. Okay, and in here again, I can subscribe to it. So I have an observable. Ready? Observable from here. You create an observable, and it will be emit event 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I want to observe that first. Okay. So I want to observe. I want to receive the result on enrollment thread, right? So manner scheduler here and main thread. It means I gotta receive this event on main thread. Okay. And I want to subscribe it. It means I want to register to get the event. Something like that. Okay, so here. Okay, so I want to get this event on the main thread. It means this function will be run on Android main thread. Okay, and in here you can update the UI itself. Okay, something like that. Okay, so by default you don't have this because by default they will try to run on main thread. Okay, so I got put in here for save. Okay, and I gonna host, no, I want to log it, right? Events, for example, integer, right? String that value of integer, something like that. And I want a syntax of Java 8. So, sorry. I want to, here. Okay. Okay, I gotta run this, guys. And take a look at the events. Why is too slow today? Okay, you see that on the left here, they emit the event for you. Okay, that's the way it works. Okay, so for example, I don't have this guy, it's still working like before, but for example, I want the process of emitting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to be run on another thread. Okay, for example, I want to subscribe on schedulers.io. This means I want a thread pool. It's good for memory optimization, and I want to log out something more. I want to log out maybe a thread, right? Thread, okay, and thread current thread get name. Okay, something like that. I gotta try to run this guy. Bam. Okay, you see? It tried to run on a different thread. Okay, and in here, if I try to update the UI, I gonna got into trouble, right? Because it's run on another thread. Okay, I gotta try to do that. For example, I want to update my edit text, right? So here I want to set text. Here I want to put in here string that value of integer, right? I want to get rid of this guy. Okay, I put it there, and I'm gonna run it again. So it will complain, right? It will complain and crash. Let's see. Okay, it's not crashed. Why? Events. What? Yes, but it's not crashed. Here it's still working, and 7 is with that. Weird. Let me see. Okay. Log current thread get name. Why it still allow me to run on another thread? Okay, maybe I will try something different. Maybe a new thread. Okay, let's see. So let's wait. Okay, it still let me do that. Okay, so don't waste your time. For example, I subscribe on another thread, right? And I want to observe that on environment thread. Okay, so I'll run it again. So we see that here you have the result back on, you know, the main thread. Okay, so weird. Why they allow me to do this? To, you know, run on another thread. I think that it's not allow me. Okay, wait for me a second. Just a second. Why they allow me to run UI? You see that it's create a new thread, right? But it still allow me to do that. It's weird.
It's a surprise. How do you know that is the main thread on another thread?
Here I bring it out. Current thread I'm here, so you can take a look. Okay. It's not bring out. No filter over here. You can see that it's, yeah, the thread here, thread CS here, the name here. See, it's running on another thread. Okay. Okay. Is new thread scheduler or something over here. It's run on another thread, but it's not crash. So, for example, so in here, this callback will be run, you know, as you receive the value, right? So you can observe on, and I can do it again. You see that it's gonna call on main thread. Here I gotta clear this guy. We will run again, and you see that yes, it's called on main thread. Okay, so it's clear. Why did they allow me? So okay, I gotta put it later. Okay, so here I gotta create, you know, observable from crash. So in here they have to create an observable for you, and it's sequence, right? And it will emit this value. So for example, I want to have something different. I want to create an observable by myself. Okay. So for example, in the right, custom observable, right? And I gotta create an observable by myself by create. Okay. And in here I gotta push in here this guy. So you have a subscriber. It means anyone gonna subscribe to this. You have a subscriber, right? And you will ask the subscriber, you will call honest, on errors, on complete, something like that on the subscriber. Okay. So in here I gotta collapse this guy. Okay. And here I create an observable, right? So I gotta declare this guy again. This guy. Okay. I create a new, you know, integer value. Here value something, bam, and I gotta run for each. For example, for each here, you know, integer value from values value. Okay, and I can emit that using subscriber dot on next. On next it means you emit an event. So again, we are creating an observable by ourselves, okay, from class, and I can emit that by, you know, values, okay, and then I can, when it's complete, you have to call on complete, okay. So most of the time you don't have to create by yourself, okay, but okay, I'm gonna create from class. Maybe you need that in the future, okay, and that's it. But maybe I want to do some pretty stuff here. I want sleep, okay, and 1000 millisecond. Okay, for okay, maybe 1000 millisecond each time. Okay, I sleep. So I gotta sleep 1 second before I emit the next values. Okay, so maybe I gotta put it, you know, behind this guy. Okay, so I create an observable by myself. So I gotta call that again. You see here. Okay. Okay, see again. I create an observable that emit value from 1 and 7. Okay, and I'm gonna emit that by myself by calling subscriber on next. Wait, I don't see that. Here, yeah, I see that. Okay, so I have to call that on myself. It means on next here I emit an event. Okay, and I gotta receive that on here. Okay, clear enough that. So on next you emit an event, you receive that on here, and when it's complete, you can emit on complete. And actually, you can have the event on complete. For example, you can do on complete. Okay, so you have another event here on complete. So I want to log it out, right? So events and, you know, complete. It means you have no more event, and maybe you want to do some stuff over here. You close the progress bar or something like that. Okay, and I'm gonna run it again. So I hope it's crashed, but But why not grass? Yes, it's grass. Okay, so I don't understand that why observable from here is not grass. It's weird. Okay, so here I create I got observable by myself, and you see here I want to run it on another thread. Okay, I want to run it on another thread, but I don't have observe on. See, I don't have observe on. It means that this line of code will be run on another thread. So basically, Android should stop that UI. But I don't know why observable.from not do that. So here I create observable by myself. Okay, I make it sleep 1 second, and okay. So maybe something like this. Maybe Android will catch an event that the thread running too slow, more than 505 seconds or something, and they will crash. Maybe observable.from is too fast that they could not do catch that events. Okay, so you see that here again, it will say that only the original thread that create a view can touch that view. Okay, see that you cannot update the UI on another thread. Okay, so take a look again here. Where is that? Where is my here? You can see that when I emit the event number 1, and it's run on another thread, not a not main thread. Here, it's not a main thread, right? And I crash. Okay, so how to handle that? Maybe I want to observe on, right? Main thread. I don't want to complete here. I want something different. Maybe maybe I want to update the text that complete. Like that. Alright, so that's here it's been complete. Okay, good enough. No, don't need that. Okay, I'm gonna run it again. Bam. Clear this out. See? It will emit event 1 second at a time, and when it's complete, it will go on complete. Okay? Any question? I know it's hard, it's advanced, but any question so far? Can you understand, huh? What is your question? So which part you don't understand? So I know that if you understand this class, we understand. So what is your question?
What do you mean?
No, nothing. Just kidding. What is your question? What is your question, please? What is hard to understand here? Okay, so again, I'm gonna explain. I create observable. It means something can emit event. Okay, and I will emit it 1 to 7. Okay, once 1,000 milliseconds at a time. So each second I will emit a number from 1 to 7, and after I emit it, I will call on complete. It means it's done. Okay.
Can you scroll up?
Yes.
What is the difference between subscribe on and observe on here?
Okay, so subscribe on here is mean these guy will be run on a thread provided on subscribe. Okay, so subscribe on it over here. You provide a mechanism to provide thread. Okay, so subscribe on here and so scheduler a mechanism cơ chế to provide a new thread. Okay, so I want an IO here. So I don't know in here a thread will have many threads. I don't care. So I just use a thread here, and all of these guys will be run on another thread. Okay, I will demo for you guys like log D again, right? And I want the thread background something. Okay, background. And thread, that current dot get name something. Okay, and again in here. Okay, done. I'm gonna run it again, and observe on in here. It means this guy will be run on the thread provided on observe on. Okay, so observe on. I want to receive the value on Android main thread. It means this guy will be run on main thread. Okay, and this guy will be run on another thread.
Because so confused, just run up. So observe on run on main thread, but dot subscribe interval is
Yeah,
subscribe on and surprise It's
Yeah,
two
it's
different things.
Yeah, so
but
it's a little bit confusing over here, but you have to understand that in here, this event actually an observer event. Okay, so an observer try to subscribe on observable. So this line of code is actually belong to an observer. Okay. So observer subscribe to the observable, and it subscribe on another thread, and we receive on another thread. Okay, I run it again, right? And let's see. So here background, you see that it's on another thread. Background over here is on another thread, and thread here is on main thread. See? That's how it works. Okay, so for example, I delete this line. Bam. Okay, I run it again, and I will have this line bring out main because it's the file value. Okay, so again I get locked UI because it run on the main. I try to sleep 1 second on the UI and don't see any value, just complete because everything is on the main. You see, you main, everything on the main. Okay, because you sleep on the main thread, it means you block UI, so you don't see anything. You get that? You get that? You get that?
yes.
Awesome. So I had 2 weeks to understand this at first, back to 2015 or 14 something. I don't remember, but I had to read by myself 2 weeks to fully understand this. But if I can make you guys understand one day, it's my successfulness. Okay, so again, uncomplete here also will be run on main thread. It's main thread provided on observer. Okay. Okay, awesome. So, and maybe I want to map. I want to double this value. Okay, so for example, it should have already new here, and okay, I want to transfer from an integer to an integer. Okay, I want to double that. Okay, so each value emit from here will be transformed into the double of it. Okay, so this is a sequence of events. So each event I want to double the value. That's it. Okay, so I will receive 2, 4, 6, 8, something like that. Okay, I use Java 8 again. Wow, awesome. It's very near to the ice marble, right? And I will see the events. So you get that? So each event I want to transform it by a formula. So a formula I choose here is a double by true. Okay? Set of map. Maybe I want to filter something more. Okay? I want to filter. It means I only want the value is less than 10. Okay? So in back here, we have run it again. You see that there is 14, right? Run it again. So 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and 14, right? So I want to eliminate all the value larger than 10, for example. I want to receive all the value that less than 10. Okay? So you will not see number 10, number 12, and number 14. Okay? Something like that. Run it again. No 10, no 12, no 14, and just complete. Okay? Okay, so I want to ask you something here. How can I implement all of these without Java? So for a map operator, I have to create a list of integers, and I update the value. I get the a list here is iterable. So first I have a list, this guy. I have to create another list, empty list, and then I have to add value one, each value and multiple by true to the list, right? And blah blah blah. and I want to filter. Okay, and then I have to check if the value is less than 10 or not, and I add the value, and then I have to, for each once again to get on the value, and I have to set that. Okay, so using the event is very flexible and scalable. You want something more? One more dot. You want something more? One more dot. You have a lot of stuff here. Maybe you want buffer. So what is buffer? Buffer is mean you want an event to be emitted many events of the time. So for example, I use a marble here. Buffer, for example, what? Just that? I think it's more than that. Not the one I want. Maybe buffer is Java over here. So maybe you want a pair of events at a time. See? For example, I emit 6 events, and I just want on next to be called twice. The first, I get 3 of events to a buffer. Okay? And it will emit 3 at a time for me. Okay? Okay? For example, I can do that by using buffer. I do at a time. Okay. Okay, I'll run that. I want buffer true. Let's see. No. I want to, eliminate that. So you can better see the result. Okay. Let's wait. See? It will emit 2 at a time. Something like that. But we try to use string of dot value of here is okay. And why it's not say error or something? Because I'm using Java 8. And Java 8 here, you don't see the type. See? You don't see the type. You just it's a variable named integer. It's not type, right? So for example, I transfer it back into Java 7. Here, right? No. Yeah. I see that. I just see that. Yes. See? It means the buffer return a pair value. Okay? But true, right? So for example, I want more. 4 or 5. It will, return a list of value at a time. So think. How can I do that without reactive programming? It's very hard. See? You have a list of events, okay? And you want to emit that twice at a time. 3 at a time. You cannot do that. For example, you double click here, a double click event, right? So double click on the user. You want to filter the event that the double click, maybe you want less than 500 milliseconds, and you want it to try at a time. Okay? Can you imagine that? I want to catch double click event. Okay? So each click is a value, emitted value, and so the process here is mean I want to buffer true at a time, and true must have the difference between time is less than 500 milliseconds. Okay, sometimes like that. Okay, so it's hard to do that on normal programming. Okay, so I want to go to the demo today. So that's enough. Enough stuff. I want to see something that's useful for Android. Okay, so here is the stuff. Here is the scenario. Question?
So you use a formula to control in here, but if you want something customized, you should
Create a new observable.
if you want that each element of the array customized from, for example, a user have different personality, and you want to you don't just want use one formula to.
You can customize it. Yes. Maybe you can create another, compose. Yes. Later, I gonna show you. For example, I gotta go roll back. For example, you want something customized, right? So you have compose. Okay. So you have compose here. I'm gonna introduce later. You create a transformer. Okay. So using a transformer, you can transform from the list to whatever you want. An object, a color, a background color, or something, a drawable, everything you want to. by compose. For example, I want create transformer. I have a list of integer, right? It's too hard, so I remove this guy. Okay, so I'm gonna have integer only, right? I remove this, bye, and here new transformer, right? From an integer you can, transform it to any kind of object you want to. An observable create a color or
If you need a formula for each element of an array, and should you use
each element, each formula is, what do you mean?
That means that if the event is 1, we use first formula, and if the value is 2, we use
Awesome.
another.
So we can combine like this. So we have two sequence of events. The first sequence of events is the value, and the second sequence of events is the formula. So I treat a formula is an event. For example, so in Java they don't have function. For example, script, Java have function, but script have function, but they can treat the function like a variable. You can pass a function like a variable. Okay, so Ruby they have function. It means function here is you can pass a function to a parameter of another function. So a function is treated by a variable, something like that. A parameter, sorry. So in Java they don't have. So for a formula, I have to have a class for it. For example, here I gotta do it very quickly. I have class formula one. He means that each value have different type of formula. Okay, right? So here, for example, I have maybe I want to return an integer in a double. Yeah, maybe I want a double value, right? Something like okay. Integer is enough. Okay, so for example, I have here a value. Maybe the value is an integer 2. Okay, and a first formula, I want to double this. Also, very easy. I want to double it, so it means okay, just formula 1. And the formula 2 here is I want to multiply by 3. And the formula 3 here, I want to multiply by 4. For example. Okay, so I can do that, by combining observable here. Okay, I first create, no, I don't need to. Compile this here. Okay, so what it was, oh my god. Right, so compile this here, you can combine 2 observable to 1. Okay, so you can buy a lot of observable. Maybe you want to combine 10 observable to 1. Maybe, it's up to you. So I gotta combine one by one. So the first observable here is the values, right? So observable, from new integer something, and 1, 2, 3, for example. And the second here is the formula, right? Good question anyway. And here I want to create. Okay, so this guy must have an interface. Okay, so it has to have an interface. So interface here is formula. So an interface you have this function but don't have anything in that. Sorry, over here. Bam, bam. So this guy gonna implement that formula. For example, implement formula. Okay, and in here I gonna have formula, right? From new formula, right? And in here I got pass in here, new formula 1, new formula 2, new formula what is 4. So here I will fix that. Okay, in here, and okay, so clear that you have 2 observable. The first observable will emit 1, 2, 3. The second observable will emit a new formula. And I want to combine this together using compile latest. No, compile latest is not good. Zip is better. So I gotta explain difference between comparative and zip. So values and formula, for example, and what zip is then blah blah blah, and then or as then observable or something. It's not good. Why? Okay, I gotta see it again. If okay, see, observable. How can I get two of them together? For example, okay, very fast. So combine latest, it means you combine, by the latest value. So for example, you have 1 and A. You have 1A, but when you emit true, right? You will have 2A. See? So it will combine the current value with the latest value. So I have B with 2B, C with 2C, D with 2D, and 3 with 3D. So when you emit a new value, it will find the latest value of the first event and it combine together into 2D over here. So I want something like combine, like the case of Han, but let's see. Oh, I think zip is right? So 1A, 2B, 2B, C don't have D and 3C, 4D, yeah. But why they don't allow me to dot zip over here? It's weird. Okay, let me see. Function. Okay, I see. So I have to pass in here a value and new function, right? A new something. What? Function true. They have function. Function. New. Okay, I put something over here. Okay, I take a look at code. Okay, zip. So I have the first one here in the observable and a function n. Okay, awesome. I got a new function n, and I will pass in here. It's not an object anymore. It's gonna be something like let me see. Let me think. Maybe I'll use merge. Merge. Maybe. So merge. No, merge not good. Okay, so maybe not concat, not symbol. So why it put in here an array of values? Let me see, guys. Okay.
Why you use only one variable instead of two or something?
Can we pass true, right?
Yeah.
Maybe. Because I not usually use zip. Okay, so function true. Oh my god, you saved my life. So here you have, you may be more specific here, maybe integer, right? And function true don't have. Let me do that, right? Function maybe formula here. Okay, but why it don't let me pass value here? Maybe in here integer and formula. No. Why it don't let me? Okay, maybe I gonna collapse this guy. Okay, so here I want to return something. Here is the value of the integer, right? And here is the formula. And here I'm gonna return, the value by formula just and execute. Why they don't? Yes, but I think it should, give me the variable. Okay, I will check once again. Maybe new. Yeah, no, that a function to T1, T2, and R. Oh my god, so stupid am I? So here I need an integer, right? And here I need a formula, and the return value is an integer. So here I'm gonna delete this guy and implement the method. Okay, so simply enough. That's it. So the first is the value, and the second is the formula, and one wants to apply the formula for the value. That's it. Okay, so I have an observer of values. Oh wait, I have something here. Okay, good. So I have a values here. Each value I have a formula for it, and I want to combine it together using a zip operator. So a long time I don't use zip, so I don't remember the syntax. So the zip here is good. So you combine the first one with the first formula, right? And the second one with the second formula, and third one with the first formula. Is that what you mean? That's it. So I want to see the result. Okay. So fast enough. So I want to do subscribe. So I don't need scheduler here because I want you to default. So the default here is the main thread. Okay. So it's not here. It's integer, right? Where? Integer. Why they don't allow me again? So here maybe integer, right? Okay, awesome. So here values. So they not smart enough. Maybe you have to figure it out yourself, right? That's the, oh my god, that's stupid. Okay, I do it here, and I run it. So you see, so 1 multiplied by 2 is true. Wait, what's wrong? Let me see. What's wrong? Oh, sorry. My god, my bad. Okay, value up. Okay, I can run it again. Okay. Wait, something wrong, right? Subscribe. Okay, because it's too fast. You only see the final values. Okay, so maybe do a sleep, right? Sleep. 1 second. Got that. But when you use a script here, it means you have to observe or subscribe on and observe on, right? So yeah, I want to subscribe on schedulers dot IO, and I want to observe on and scheduler dot main thread. Okay, something like that, and I'll run again. So so the first value is true, right? And true 6 and 12. That's right. Okay, so awesome. That's it. Oh my god, it took a lot of time for me. Okay, so I gotta go back from the value today. I gotta remove these guys. Okay, so how many times we have left? Okay, still a lot of time. So the scheduler here is I have an application, right? And I want to search. Okay, so activity main here. Okay, I have an edit text here. When I type on the edit text, it's gonna call some APIs. API will return the value for me. So if I type too fast, I will see the lagging. Okay, so I gotta demo that first before I go to our Java. So here I gotta create a new API client very quickly, and I have a method for it. For example, I want to return a type observable. Okay, so when I search, I want to return a list of data, right? Something like that. So I want the events here is a list of data. So I want to put in here, search, right? A keyword. So I'm not gonna call the real API because I don't have one, but I'm gonna create a new observable by myself. Okay. Create. Okay, I create by myself. Okay, so by myself it means I have to call honest, uncomplete, on the row, blah blah blah. Okay, something like that. And I want to sleep. 1 second. I want to make it like real API calling because I want to make a sleep. Okay, and then I want to do something like this. Okay, I want I want a list of data, right? String result, right? And I want to do something very simple, a new array list, right? And I want to put in here array form, right? Form, as yes, at least, and keyword that I want to split that, so it's very easy. It means that I want to split this guy. So a keyword here, for example, I enter hello world, something like that. I want to split that. I want to split that to individual words. For example, ABC, I want to split into a list of A, B, and C, something like that. Okay, I want to make a slip. I want to simulate that. Maybe we do call an API. Okay, and here, and finally, simply enough, that I want, subscriber, right? On next, I want the next value. Subscriber, on, complete. Okay, something like this. Okay, so for example, I get exception, right? I kept the exception over here, and I can use subscriber on error. See, it means I will receive that. I gotta show you guys where I can receive that. Okay, so I have here an API search. It will emit an event, only one event emit. After the event is emitted, I'm gonna call on complete. That, okay. It's simply just that I split the queue. Okay, so good to go. So here I'm gonna do first step here. I want an edit text, right? I want to add a text chain listener, right? So first I don't have it out of events. Java don't have a way to convert a listener into events, but we have a library to do that, and we can create one by ourselves if we need to. For first, I create, oh my god, that's a lot of stuff, but I only need this guy on text chain. Okay, so here on text chain, right, I want to subscribe on that. Okay, so here I gotta create a new observable. Okay, so maybe simply enough, when you have an API client, a database connection or something, you just create something like this. Okay, so you should not do something like this. Observe on. Why? Because it's more like on a client side. Okay, but what's wrong? So okay, just ignore that. Just remember that you don't do something like this. Subscribe on and observe on in your API client or database data access object or something like that, because this subscribe and observe on is from the client. Okay, so the client should decide it would run on a main thread or a UI thread. Okay, because later when you try to run unit test, okay, you will get crash on unit test because unit tests don't have any scheduler, right? So maybe you just want something like immediate. Okay, so never do subscribe and observe on some API client or some kind of service. Okay, so in here I have to create a new guys over here, maybe do shirt or something. Okay, I just gonna return that. Maybe I want something more. API client, I have to declare that, and API client, I create that new API client, and API client over here I do search, right? I put in here keyword. I just split the function for more clean code. So maybe you don't want to split that. It's okay. So keyword here, and I want to observe. I want to observe on a main thread, right? I want to subscribe on a scheduler. Maybe again I can use computation. Computation is good enough. It means it have a number of threads based on your core. For example, I have 4 cores, so computation will provide 4 threads. Okay, so maybe I just want IO. It's good enough, and I return that. Okay, what's it? A list of string, right? Okay, awesome. And in here I have a list view, right? Okay, so on text chain over here, I want something like I subscribe to it, right? I do shirt, right? A chat sequence over here, bam. I want to string, and I want to subscribe. I need the result, right? Bam. Okay, so here I set an adapter, right? So if you don't know, actually you have this adapter. So Android provides a simple adapter. Just pass in the layout, the in value, something like that. Okay, so in here I just pass in layout. No, I want to lay out the system, right? Android or layout and something symbol list item something. I want something like, I don't remember. I want to take a look. Okay, here and context. A reshow here is the layout and a list of objects, right? So very easy. A context here is this, right? This, right? And here I want to put in a list of objects is the values, right? So I put in the values. Okay, so what's wrong? Okay, the this here is not good, right? So main activity like this. Okay, awesome. And I gotta scroll up this guy and bam and bam. Okay, so very easy. That every time user type something, right, and you will do a search, right, and then I'm gonna subscribe to this API code. The API code will be running on another thread and also another thread. Yeah, something like that. Okay, so and then that's it. Okay, so maybe I gotta try to run that. So I gotta type in number 1. Bam. Okay, it has true value. Okay, the reason why here is a split method. So I got the split method here. Will get the empty string at first. It's a little bit annoying, but you can rid of that by remove the first one. Okay, so I'll do it again. I will tie in number 1. 1 second I get number 1. I tie number 2. Number 2. I tie. Okay, 1 second is not good enough, right? So maybe you have something good, very lagging, it will emit the value, 1 second and first, yeah, something like that. It's not good for user experience, right? Remember, I just type, it's not good. It should just, emit the event that have the value. It should not just emit one by one at a time. It's not good. So maybe in real life, you see that the image, you have a good image, right? And you see the image jumping from top to bottom. It's not good. Okay, so it's not a good situation that you see something lagging, something like that. Yeah. So you don't want to try to call the server too many times. Maybe too heavy for the backend and maybe the crash because our memories. Okay. So actually we can you can do something like debounce. Okay, so I introduce the debounce here again. For example, I have a debounce here. Okay, so we have type too fast. I want 2, 3, and 4. I don't receive 2, 3, and 4. I only receive 5. So I type too fast. The event emitting too fast, and I don't want to receive this guy. Okay, so to do that, I have to trick the events here. You have an event, right? Event, right? Yeah, I have to treat an event as an observable. I don't want to receive event like attaching listener. I want each event is from an observable, and I can debounce it. Okay, so I gotta create from scratch, and later I can introduce a library for that. Okay, so maybe I want event. So I gotta create an utils, right? Maybe something like this. Okay, so I want something, a method, right? A method that return again. Everything is an event. Everything can be an observable. A formula can be an observable, right? So here I want an event. Maybe an event, emitted like a just sequence, maybe a just sequence. Okay, and I want to buy. Okay, edit text over here. Okay, simply enough. And again, I want attaching listener. I want dash it and sorry here, right? I want to create a new copy and paste this guy. Okay, again I will create a new server by create. Okay, so you don't say new something, just create that. Okay, I create new guys here. I collapse this guy, I put it here, and every time I text change, I want to emit that. Okay, very simple. I create a new observable by myself. Observable that creates something by a subscriber, and every time on touching code, I will emit that event. It's simple, right? It's simple, right? It's simple, right? Okay, and I don't want this guy. It's too much. It's too much for me, so maybe I get this guy. Bam. Okay, remove this line. Bam. I want. It's not static, right? Public static. Okay, awesome. Okay, it's by an edit text, right? So here I have an event of charge sequence, but I want to debounce. Okay, I want to debounce, and in here I got pass in millisecond. Okay, so if true event is too fast, too near for each other, I get rid of the last one, the first one. Okay, so in here, I want a map. I don't want just sequence. I want string, right? So I want to map something to, you know, string, right? And simple enough, I just, you know, just sequence to string, okay? And collapse this guy using Java 8, okay? And then I want a flat map. What is a flat map actually? Okay, so the flat map here, they have everything for you. The flat map, what? Where is that? I think it should have flat map. It's basic, you know. Okay, if it don't have, I have to explain it for you. Okay, a flat map. So a map, it means you turn a value into a different value. Integer to string, a just sequence to a string. But a flat map here, you turn a value into an observable. Okay, a flat map. So each keyword I want, it turn into a text that called the API, and it will emit the list of string. So flat map will convert a value into an observable. Why? I want something like this. I want each string will call the API, right? But API here is returned as an observable. See? Return as an observable. Okay? So I have to do flat map. So again, each value, each string, I want to call API for each string. But I have an API is an observable. It's not a value. API call is an observable. Right? So I have to do flat map. Is it hard to understand?
Yes.
It's very hard to understand, right? So again, if everything can be observable. So an API call could not be a value. So we have two things here, an observable and a value. Okay? So integer is a value or an observable, guys. And a value, right? A string is a value or an observable? A value. An API call cannot be a value. It's something can return a value, right? So it's an observable, right? So each value, I can convert it into another value using map. But each value I want to call API. So I have to use flat map. That's it. Each string you tie in, I want to take that string and call the API. So I just have two steps, a value or an observable. So I have to turn the value into an observable. Can you get that? You look confused. Can you get that? Can I get that? Okay, I gotta code this. Okay? It's hard to understand. Okay? So in here, a string is your keyword, right? I want to turn it into an observable. That's this guy. Okay? So let's see how it works. Okay? Observable flat map is very hard to understand, but if you take time, you can understand that. Believe me. Okay, so here I want string. I want why they don't let me do it, you know, Java 8. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, awesome. So here I want it is a keyword, right? And I want to return a user. Simply enough. So flat map here. A keyword will call an API. Okay? And then when you try to subscribe, you see that, you know, when you try to subscribe, we see that it action one list. See? Because it has been turned into an observable that emit a list of string. Okay? See? So again, you see that it's Android one list string, right? But if I remove this guy, I just subscribe over here, what I get? What I get here is a string. Action one string, a string is a value. See? And if I do it here, it returns a list of string. Because the value has been transformed. Your keyword has been transformed into API call. And then API call will return a list of string. Here is where you get the value. You understand?
Yeah.
Awesome. So here, I can collapse these guys. Okay. Again, it's a values, right? And I want my adapter. Oh my god, I removed my adapter. Okay, I'll do it again very quickly. Let's view Z adapter. Alright, Android, thank you. Android. And values. Awesome. Classic guy. We have better formatting of code. So that's it. You have to debounce. Okay, so let's see how it works. Okay. Okay. You have see that it delay 1 second because I make sure it don't slip something. So you see that when I type, it's not called the API. See? Until I release my finger, less than 300 seconds. You see some delay because I try to do system sleep 1 second. That's sleep something. You see? And maybe you see 2, 3, and 1 second later, 1 second later, something like that. You see, when you typing here, it's not emitting any events or any icon. No, only you release your finger, and 1 second later, you have the data ready for you. Okay, so that's the power. But something here. For example, I want a distinct and 2 chain. It means distinct and 2 chains. It means they have one. It means here I have one. I emit one. See, here result is the emit value. So I emit true, but I emit true again. So I don't take that. For example, I have 1, 2, 3, and I type 1, 2, 3 again, and I erase that. I don't want to get that again because I already have a set value. I don't want to call API for 1, 2, 3 again. It's useless and waste memory of API, guys. You understand? I have 1, 2, 3 here. I have the value here. When I try to tie up and delete one, I don't want to call 1, 2, 3 again if the latest value is 1, 2, 3. For example, very quickly here I want to post events, right? Toast length short. Run it again. You see that where I type? No event, right? When I release my finger, event, right? Okay, and I have 1, 2, 3. Okay, it means that I have error. Let's see. I have errors. Okay. Wait me a sec. Why it's not doing anything? Okay, maybe I do create some bugs here. Let me see. Listing to change. Events, right? Is there any errors? No errors. 4. Okay, after it emitted the first time, it's no more emitting. Maybe I want to lock the thread. Maybe I mess up the thread. See it. And thread. Maybe I messed up the thread. Okay, let's see. Maybe I messed up the thread. I don't know. But it's not crash. This thing and 2 chain. Okay, it's not emit anything. No clock. Okay, let me delete this guy. Where? The pounds 300 and this thing and 2 chain. It's look good. 1, 2, 3.
Why do you put the distinct and 2 chain there?
Oh, wait. I debound 300 seconds, and we did type too fast. It emit the value, and this going to change there. Weird. Okay, I gonna do it again. Maybe I can put it here. It's better. Don't know. It's still good, right? I'll run it again with the string and chain on the top. Let's see. Okay, so maybe. What happened with this thing in two chain? Okay, it's not raised any exception and later. Weird. Let me see. Value string keyword. I think it put it here is good. So maybe they are comparable something over there, and you know, chat sequence is not good enough. More, okay, maybe I could put it over here. So after I convert it to a string, I put that. Why a chat sequence? Maybe a chat sequence don't have a comparable stuff. Okay, so maybe I do it again. Again, come on. Okay, why? Who knows? Because distinct and two chains mean again here. So the chat sequence they don't implement comparable or something. I think so. So they cannot compare two chat sequence, but two string they can compare. Okay. So distinct and two chain here, if you emit 1, 2, 3, and you emit in 1, 2, 3 again, I'm not gonna receive 1, 2, 3. Okay. Until it change. Okay. So for example, I want 1, 2, 3. Okay, I need my toes. Back. Okay, very quickly. Main activity dot this event and you know link show awesome. Okay, so this thing and you change here because they're not implement comparable, so they don't know that compare to chat sequence together. Chat sequence actually is an interface, as far as I know. Yeah, it's an interface. It's not an object or class, so it's not implement comparable in Java. So 1, 2, 3. Event. I got type 4, 5, 6. Too slow for me. Okay, so I got type. I got wait 4, 5, 6. It's not emit because the last value is 1, 2, 3. If it's 4, it emit. Okay, so I type in very quickly 5, 6. It's not emit because I don't want to call API search again. Maybe for example, maybe something like this. Okay, so here it's scrollable, right? So maybe I scroll to the bottom, and when we reset the data, it will scroll to the top. So I gotta demo this right now. Okay, so maybe I don't have this thing to change. What's gonna happen? Okay, let's see. For example, the search result the same, but I've been put back to the bottom. Okay, for example, I want to try something in hello CoderSchool. Okay, it emit for me here. Okay, so if I put G, it will shut again, so it reset the adapter. Okay, G, shut again. Okay, I've been scrolled to the top. Okay, it's good because you shut a different one because I just demo here, so maybe the shut result back from the API will be different. But CoderSchool here, if I type something like 4, 5 and go back, sorry, I scroll to the bottom, I go 4, 5, go back. Okay, it scroll me up to the top. But I don't need that. I don't need to do a search, right? So I put this thing and do change here. It means I don't want to receive that event. I have to do a search for that. I don't need to go back, okay? I don't need it scroll back for me for that. Hello or CoderSchool, right? Bam. Scroll to the bottom. It should not scroll me to the top and should not do any API call because I have already called the API for this string. I don't need to do that again. Only when I change that, I do search. Okay? So that's the power of iJava. You treat everything like value and events. You try to transform the event, this thing into change, zip it, wrap it, compose it, combine it, everything in here. Okay, so one more scenario here. Do we still have time? Okay, we still have time here. So maybe I gotta do some stuff.
What happens if you remove the 1000
It's very fast. You could not see.
Very fast, but the minimum must be 300.
No, 300 is just for example.
No, I mean you said the 1000 millisecond delay. You also said the debounce is 300.
So debound here is not it's not a delay. So you have to think like it. When user try to type so fast.
I mean,
So,
if you don't set the 1000, if you type 8 and it's so 8,
Yes.
then it's so 8.
Yes.
You also set the
Do you understand debounce?
if you cut so fast, you set the 300 millisecond, and it do not admit it as an event.
Yes, that's it. The trick here is different, guys. Here I just simulate the API code. I don't have real API code. I just simulate. For example, mình chỉ giả định là mình đang gọi API thôi. Bỏ một giây vô giống như là đang gọi API đó, kiểu vậy. Hiểu không? Okay, it's not related to Java. Okay. Okay, so here you see that start here. Okay. So finally, I want something more. I want something like is binding. Okay. So I don't want to write this guy again and again. Maybe I have a checkbox. Maybe I have a text view. Maybe I have a search view. Why I have to write this guy again and again? We have library for that. This guy. So this guy provide this for you. You don't have to write it. Just use that. Okay. So just take the first one. Maybe there are more views in app combat and design, recycle view, blah blah blah. Okay, I take the basic one. Here I put it over here. Okay, and I gotta do sync now. Okay, so I don't need this guy anymore. I don't need that. Okay, and here okay I got problem, right? So I can do maybe R is text view. Yeah, so text change event here. So you know that edit text is children of text view. So edit text extend from text view. Okay, so you can use this guy text change event. Okay, and you can do here edit text. Right. Okay, good enough. Okay, so this time I can move this guy over here or even over here. Okay, because the event here I think that is not have comparable. I don't know. Just run it. Let's see. Oh, sorry. One more step here. A map here is not a just sequence anymore. Okay, it's an event. Okay, so an event here is different. An event here have a text, a just sequence over here, right? Okay, and maybe I do, one more step here. A map it again. A just sequence, right? Just sequence, and I want it to string. Okay, to string. Sorry. Do I mess up a bracket somewhere? Okay. Okay, good enough. Okay, run it again. So an event, I get the text out. I have just sequence and I transform the just sequence and then I transform it to string. Okay, good enough. Okay, so it's good. Okay, it's still working. So you can use that. I take view text change event and distinct into change. So I don't really sure that it's a comparable or how it works under the hood, but okay, it's work. Maybe there's comparable somewhere on equal. Yeah, equal. Awesome. So you can implement comparable or you have equal method here. So they implement it for you. Text change event here, so you can use this thing until change. Fine. Okay. So something like that.
But it still repeats when you type 1 to 3 and then you type 1 to 3. Still the list shows it should not show.
Ah, you are right. You are right. Good, good, good. No, right. You are right. You are right. Good, good. Event. Okay. All right. Yeah, you are right. So maybe I have to put it over here, right? Yeah. So he said that an event here is not good enough. Really good. Still a bit. Oh, sorry. I do it again. I will wait for the. Yeah, it's still it's not good. Okay, so this thing should be put in here. Thank you. Okay, so the final scenario here, I have a, where is that? Okay, I have a progress bar over here. So you have to do, at Android, you have to do, show loading and high loading again and again, right? Every time you call API and you have a loading view, to show it on arrow, you have to close that. For every API call, for example, you have a callback, right? And then you have to do it manually, right? You have to, API is have error. I have to close. I have to, hide the progress bar. API is starting to call. I have to show the progress bar. API is finished to call. I have to hide the progress bar. And you have to do it time over time for each screen, and something like that. So Java, I gotta do Java to implement this. Okay, so very very simple here. Scenario here, it means I gotta create a new composable stuff, right? So I want to compose. Okay, so here I have compose, right? So for example, I want a new transformer. I want to compose observable into another type of observable. Okay, so in here I just want it to be a string. Okay, nothing new. So first, I don't want to overwhelm you guys, so I cut this guy. Okay, and put it in here. So I have a method here. Transformer. I want to transform a T to T. So again, I'm gonna doing, sorry, E. Who know generic in Java? Okay. Who know generic in Java? Loading. Okay. Something like that. You see, you list. A list can be a list of object, a list of string, a list of everything. So they put a T over there. It means it can be something. Okay. So it's generic. Okay. So I want to compose an event T into, an observable T to observable E. Okay, something like that, and I'll return. Okay, so it's not a list of string anymore. Okay, it should be T, right? And it's gonna be E. So it's hard. So I can do here better. Okay, so I want to do something very very crazy here. So I have here an observable. Okay, I gotta return that observable. It means I do nothing, right? Okay, but here a T and an E, but I don't want to change from T to E. I just want to add some callback to show the loading view, hide the loading view, something. All right, so I don't want E. I just need a T over here. Okay, so it's good. It's simple enough. It means I don't want to change the type of the observable. Okay, I want it to hold the type of the observable. Okay, it's good now, but okay, don't need this guy, right? Okay, so here just a syntax. So in here it means that I do nothing with the observable. I pass in the observable, I transform it into itself. I do nothing. Okay, so in here I just want to add some event. Okay, I want to add in here, observe on. When you hide and show the loading view, you should do that on the main thread, right? Okay, so I want error over here. Okay, so I want to do on subscribe. It means the first time you subscribe to these guys, okay, I want to, for example, you subscribe to the logging observable. Okay, I want to show the loading view. All right. Okay, and then when the logging observable terminated, I want to hide. Okay, so terminate here will be called up. For example, you have arrow or on complete, and after that they will call on terminate. So terminate will, whatever you have arrow or you have a result, they are on terminate. Okay, so I want an action over here. Okay, I want something like Java 8. Okay, so loading view, set visibility into visible. Okay, so we try to run this guy, and I gotta put it over here. Okay, compose, utils, loading. I want to put in my loading. Okay, so this guy is true. You may use this guy again and again. Okay, so maybe I gotta put it into another observable. And transformers. Okay, so maybe here I want with scheduler, just It's nothing. It just, I want to subscribe here. I just, make my code more usable. Okay, so instead of calling this guy again and again, okay, again this guy, so I want to compose. Okay, schedule. Okay, so instead of calling this code, I delegate it to here. Okay, yeah, something like that. Okay, so I have some errors. Okay, compose here, I don't need that again. Okay, so when you call API search, I will do this guy. And in here, when you start to subscribe, it will show, and when terminate, it will be invisible. Something like that. Okay, don't worry, I will put this code into GitHub. Okay, but this code will be crashed because do on subscribe will be run on the background thread. So the problem with Java is hard to understand, and you must understand the threading mechanism. If not, you will run into problems. Okay, it's crashed. Okay, so first time it emits the event here. So I think that there's a problem with text chain here. They try to emit the first time, right? They try to emit the first time. Maybe I try to read the document. It try to emit the first time. So the value will be emitted immediately on subscribe. So the first time the value is empty string, and it's no, I don't need that. Okay, I think something it just emit when I type in. So maybe I want text. It's an action before text chain, after text chain, text chain. Okay. Okay, so text chain here. What is here? Okay, it's a chat sequence. Awesome. So here, I want to run it again. Okay. Okay, we have enough time. Okay, it crashed. Oh, why? Why it emit the first time? Okay, don't waste you guys time. Okay, later. Okay, I'm gonna fix that very fast. But okay, so you can pass in here the handler, right? So you already learned about the handler. The handler will be passed an event, UI events, right? From the background thread to a main thread, right? So in here maybe I can put in here the handler, right? And loading here, put in my handler. Okay, so in here we got both this guy. So handler, you know that you only run the handler can post a runnable text from a background thread back to the UI thread, right? So in here maybe for server, I will put this guy too. So about new runnable and collapse this guy and put here collapse this guy. Okay, simple enough that it's just some sequence of events, nothing new. Why? Very quickly, I will see. Where? Let me see. I will do it fast. New arrow over here. I want to bring stack tray. Okay. Text chain event. I have to map it right from an event into an event.text. It's where it's not working over here. So let's see. Attempt to invoke Boolean handler both on a new object reference. Oh my god. So handler I don't initiate that. Okay, so it's a little bit hard to debug, but you have to learn, and you will have debug skill. Something. Okay. So I don't know that why it's called for the first time, but I'm gonna figure it out at home. Okay, so see, it's work. Okay, something like that. Okay, and maybe you want to hide the list view, right? So maybe you want a content here. So a list view is content, right? Main content here. So maybe I put a main content. So a content here is a main content of the event. So in here, maybe I gotta do very fast that I want something like a content here. I want to set visibility into invisible, right? And then it's coded early. Okay, awesome. And in here, I want to push it a new events over here. Okay, and I want to have a content to be visible. Okay, good enough. So it's just a view. So I don't care what is type of the view. So I run it again and let's see. So the first time it emit a value 1, 1, 2, 3, emit a value 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It hide the content. It show the value and it hide the content and it show the value. So every time you need to do this, you just compose. Within here a handler. Maybe you're lazy, right? You're lazy, just do here. But okay, so it's up to you. So you see that with RJava you make everything as event. So if you implement this guy using normal programming, okay, you may 100, 200, 400 lines of code. Okay, any question?
Kotlin is the programming language. Does they use RxJava?
Yes. Yeah.
Code.
Kotlin had functional programming in them. They can map a list into another list, flat map something. But it just change form data. RJava have mechanism for do parallel and occurrence. Okay, so you can put the guys on different thread. Maybe you want this guy on different thread, this guy on different thread, this guy on different thread. You can do that. It's very powerful. Question?
This is the build button, so I wonder this thing.
It's not really a build a button. I think so.
I just wonder the sequence is not depend on this button, but this thing until change. This, whatever they are, they still work because some of them are final. You can describe your parameters, not depend on the sequence. So
yeah, this dot is, it's not depend. No, it depend on sequence because it do depend on sequence. For example, if you put this thing chain over here, it's not working because it will like we need to say that it's compared to events. So the two events is always different for each other because the address of the events. Okay, so you have to put this thing chain here because they want to compare to two string, not two events. So it's work here. So you must know that the sequence matter. The sequence really matter. For example, if I put subscribe over here, I will have just sequence. String. If I put dot subscribe over here, I will have just sequence. If I dot subscribe over here, I will have a list of string, right? A list of string value. So the sequence matter. And moreover, if you put subscribe on I want these two guys on a different thread. I want these two guys on different thread. I want this guy on different. You can do that. You can run different sequence on different thread. Very powerful. So sequence is matter. Right? Okay, you can go home. Thank you guys. I gotta this library they emit the event here. Okay, I check it out at home. Yes.